Welcome to Conversation Culture. Today we're going to take you through a live audit, as the title suggests, but we're also going to teach you about AEO and what it takes to get your brand visible in AI search. We originally presented this at South by Southwest, and we actually gathered some new data that you're going to be able to get to see from our live audience. So let's dive in. I'm Tina Fleming. I'm the VP of AI Strategy at Avenue Z, and we are also joined by Whitney.
Hi there. Pleasure to meet you. My name is Whitney Hart, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer here at Avenue Z.
And a quick note about Avenue Z. We are an agency that is AI accelerated. We're data first, and we are a hybrid agency for influence. But enough about us. Let's talk about AI search. So let's dive into exactly what is AI search. Since ChatGPT launched in 2022, and it really started picking up speed in the following year, SEOs all over the globe have been racking their minds around how to tackle this next frontier of search. And one thing we cannot all agree on is what exactly to call it. So we asked our live audience at South by Southwest, what do you call AI search optimization? And as you can see in the data on this next slide, GEO was actually the winner with AEO in second place. But our agency, as well as some of our tech partners, have decided that we like AEO, so that's what we're going to be using today, and you will see repeated throughout this presentation. So let's talk about what exactly is AEO. We call it AI engine optimization, answer engine optimization, AI search optimization. Regardless of what you want to define it as, we think about it as the practice of shaping how AI answer engines like ChatGPT, Gemini, Perplexity, and Google AI Overviews understands, cites, and recommends your brand so that you're featured inside of AI-generated answers, not just listed as a traditional blue link that you might see on the Google SERP. So now we're going to talk to Whitney for a second about some of the trends that we're seeing in the industry and what has changed during this time.
Thanks so much, Tina. We know that information discovery is changing, and an inflection point has occurred. Billions of people are turning to large language models to get instant answers. They're no longer engaging with blue links of organic search, scrolling social media, or systematically reading the news to find the information they want and need. So what does that really look like? When I say billions of people are using these large language models, well, let's dig into the data. On the next slide, you'll see that ChatGPT has broached 900 million weekly active users worldwide. And that takes up about 60% of the Gen AI market share, with Gemini coming in second, Copilot third, followed by Perplexity, Claude, Grok, and others, ultimately indicating that billions of people are now going to a large language model of their choice to learn what they want, to do research that they need, and to further educate themselves in the queries that they want to search. And what does this look like when compared with Google's rise? On the next slide, you'll see annual searches by year. ChatGPT, in only 4 years, has managed to accomplish the same volume of search that Google took 13 years to achieve. So we know that this rise is significant, and it is a challenge to the traditional search landscape that Google has dominated for over 3 decades. And when we talk about how often this search is taking place, ChatGPT's daily active usage is also on the rise. On the next slide, you can see that Google has had about the same volume of daily active usage consistently over the course of this time frame at about 60%. Whereas ChatGPT has seen significant increases from about 25% to 45%. over the span of about 10 months. So we know that these lines will continue to converge and at some point possibly even cross, which is an exciting future and has led many to claim that traditional search is dying. But that's not quite true. Search isn't dying, it's just evolving into a 2-track system. Almost every ChatGPT user is still relying on Google. 95% of them are turning to Google, and as such, The two of them together are blended for a multimodal information, discovery, and usage paradigm. So, while we know that users are deploying both tools based on their need, we do know that Google sends far more traffic to websites, whereas those using large language models tend to stay within the large language model for their query and information discovery. However, the conversion is crucial. ChatGPT, when it does send that user out to a site, is converting 1.7 times more than Google in e-commerce transactions. So ultimately, what this tells us is that we need to think about how a marketing and communications ecosystem can and should be optimized, not only for traditional search, as we cannot neglect that, but also now what else needs to be added and considered for the benefit of large language models as AI search is becoming the most valuable growth channel for brands to tap into. Tina, you want to take it away?
Yes. So what you're going to see on the next couple of slides, these are great slides to take screenshots of, is a few stats that are going to be centric around revenue, trust, and conversion that really show you how AI search is becoming the most valuable growth channel. So this first stat on the left is $750 billion in US revenue will funnel through AI-powered search by 2028. And 46% of consumers say that they actually trust AI to give more honest advice than their friends. And finally, AI search traffic converts at 14.2% versus Google's 2.8%, which makes it 5 times more valuable once these users are entering your website. And on the next slide, we're actually going to show you some information from our own client data at our agency. We found that 60% of consumer brand narrative is influenced by editorial, affiliate, and UGC, so not just the content on your website. We also found that 58% fewer organic clicks are coming into websites as a result of the crocodile mouth effect, where we're seeing a huge surge in impressions and not as many clicks on a global level. Additionally, 45% higher conversion rates from AI referral traffic compared to our organic search traditionally. So how do we actually affect change in this new avenue of AI search? We have 3 pillars. So let's start at the bottom with the foundational optimizations. This is your AI or SEO technical optimizations in your website's core. Then from there, we go into content and creative. Is the content on your site optimized to answer specific questions that the user might have? And then at the top is the third party, either earned or paid placements in media. And this is where the outside forces come into play that power conversation culture itself. So let's talk about what conversation culture is. We titled the presentation as such, but what does it actually mean? We believe that human conversations today are the AI results of tomorrow, and brands that are influencing creators, curators, and communities are the ones that are shaping what AI says next. And we're going to see this progress of AI evolve over time. And during that time, we really need to embrace the fact that these human conversations are mattering more than ever. And as marketers, we know that there are so many different platforms to manage. The list goes on and on and on. So we polled our live audience at South by Southwest to see which conversion engines or conversation engines are being prioritized the most in their marketing mix. On the next slide, actually next 2 slides, you're going to see all of these different sources. There are so many: Reddit, Quora, LinkedIn, Instagram, YouTube. LinkedIn was a huge one. Facebook, Medium, G2, TikTok, and then the website itself. So you can see the results vary across marketing teams, but you really have to ask yourself, do you have coverage in all of these areas and which ones matter the most? So to figure that out, we're going to pass it over to Whitney for your first task.
So the first task that we like to encourage brands and organizations to engage in, and that we did live at South by Southwest, is your own brand visibility assessment. So go to chatgpt.com and type in a query related to your organization. Ideally, this is a non-branded query. What is the best pasta for my evening dinner meal? What is the best air conditioning unit for a 2,000 square foot home. Things like this. See what comes back. See if your brand is surfaced and how you're spoken about. Start to investigate what are those sources that are linked to. Look specifically to see if ChatGPT is relying on its training data or if it's going out and doing a live web search. Start exploring. And better yet, if you want brownie points, sit down with someone else from your team that works within a different marketing or communications remit. For example, if you are on the social media team, sit down with someone who manages your website or sit down with someone from the PR team and do this together to understand where your different disciplines are working together to drive results or where that synergy is missing and is needed for the future of search. So with that, we did a poll. We had everyone at South by Southwest in the room with us go ahead and do this independently. And we then issued a poll to understand if those people surfaced their brand when making that non-branded prompt. And the results came in. We found that 34% of users found their brand appeared consistently in AI answers, but 34% found that they were not even listed, which was a shocking result to them. So clearly there is a pretty large discrepancy here between the brands that are preferred and the brands that are ignored. But the crucial next step is not only assessing if you show up, it's the tenor of that conversation. Do you, as a brand, feel that what the large language model is saying about you is accurate? Is it what you want the large language model saying about your organization? Great question. The poll results came back that 52% of organizations found it was spot on, and 48% said it was mostly right. No one believed that it was mostly wrong or way off. So this is another key component of doing this brand visibility assessment for yourself or with your colleagues, and to start thinking about what are the metrics that matter most when you are trying to assess how to craft an integrated marketing and communications program for large language models.
And some of the metrics that we're going to be measuring in our audits start with visibility. This is all about how often your brand is mentioned as a recommended brand in AI-generated answers. We're also going to be measuring citations. This is how often is your brand's website cited as a source in these AI-generated answers. Sentiment is all about how your brand shows up. The narrative, is it positive? Is it negative? Is it accurate? AI referral traffic is referring to the traffic that's coming into your website from AI engines such as ChatGPT, Perplexity, and Gemini. Conversion rate is what you're going to be comparing against your other traffic channels. So how highly qualified is the traffic coming into your site from AI versus organic social or organic search? And then finally, query volume. This is how likely is someone to actually search for this prompt in ChatGPT or similar engine. And not every visibility tool has that as an option. We use Profound among other different AEO tools to measure this, and query volume is one of those benefits in that tool. So next, we're going to talk about how to measure this for yourself. This is your task number 2, your AEO audit. So you're going to pause this video, you're going to scan this QR code, and you're going to do your own AEO audit. You'll put your own brand information into that link. Here's another version of that if you need it in a bigger size. And then you can get a benchmark of your own visibility. And in the meantime, when you come back from pausing the video, we will walk you through one that we have already run for Virgin Voyages. Welcome back from pausing the video. We're going to go through the one for Virgin Voyages now. So the first thing that you're going to notice about this audit is that Virgin Voyages ranks 6th in AI visibility. And this is among a competitor set that includes Royal Caribbean, Carnival, Norwegian, really relevant brands. And then we're going to look at some other metrics like the visibility score, the sentiment, citation share. And these are all indicators of how well the site is optimized for AEO. And it goes even deeper into which engines is it more visible on. ChatGPT is the top versus Perplexity is much lower. And these are all different measurements that you can use for your own brand, including sentiment. There's some negative connotation in here, there's some positive, and then after you see that high level interpretation, you can go in to see exactly what comes up in ChatGPT or similar engines and see what is it about my brand that's causing this positive or negative sentiment. And so after you scroll through that information to see strengths, weaknesses, then you can finally see the different cited websites that are coming up in these AI prompts. So Virgin Voyages is the number 2 cited website, right behind Reddit. So that would tell me as a marketer, I need to incorporate Reddit into my AEO strategy to make sure that I'm able to influence these engines. You can see frequently cited pages, and then ultimately, you're going to use this information to help start your own strategy for AEO. But before you actually start that, you want to see how ready you are for this. So we went ahead and made a readiness assessment that you can take at home as well. So you can scan this QR code for your task number 3. And this is the very last thing that we'll ask you to do today, but just make sure you scan that QR code, and then it will take you through this experience where it will ask you some different questions, and then you'll go through and right here on the screen, you can see put in your email address to start your assessment. You'll go through the different questions that it asks, and then just click yes or no. And as you go through these different sections of content to see, have you already optimized your content? What's your tech stack look like? These types of things. Then it will generate a score for you that will ultimately help you understand, how much work do we need to get done before we're ready to get off the ground and start affecting change in these AI engines. So after you take that assessment, you can share it with your team, and then we're always here to help answer questions as well. So we'll leave our information up on the screen here to connect with us. And if you have any questions, we are more than happy to connect with you and keep the conversation going. So please reach out and we'll talk soon.